All right, everybody, it's Saturday, September 10th, which means it's Rotary time again. Today we got kind of an action-packed morning set up for you guys, starting with Foundation 101. And as you guys know, Foundation is really kind of the base of what Rotary is about. So leading us through our session today, past District Governor and Foundation Chair, Mr. Del Green, wearing a suit today. Go ahead, Del.
Thank you, Benson Medina, my favorite district trainer, for that wonderful introduction. And welcome everybody to this morning's session on Foundation 101. I do want to thank you for being present because I understand that some of us had challenges accessing today's meeting through the link that was available on the website and maybe some other sources as well. So we thank you for being here. Hopefully we'll have a few more people straggle in.
Yeah,
but before we get into the content,
you have to open up a Zoom account or else copy the number and put it in the, in the URL line.
Okay, thank you, Mark, because if you're already here, you probably are not, you're already on, but maybe if we can share that information with the people who are trying to get on, that would probably be pretty helpful. I do want to quickly acknowledge a few people around the room before we get into the topic. I want to recognize our past district governors. We have with us Sandy Matsui. If she could just wave her hand real quickly. Thank you, Sandy. I understand, I believe I saw Laura Steelquist, past district governor Laura Steelquist. If she could raise her hand quickly. We also have with us, and we're going to hear from her as well, our past district governor Roz Cooper. If she could raise her hand. Ah, there she is. Thank you. Also on our committee, I want to recognize Mark Harbestead. He'll be speaking to us a little bit later today on the grant qualification section. We have with us Dick May, who's going to also speak this morning, though, on the annual fund. Good morning, Dick. We have Dave Mosdren, who is our Triple Crown chair, who is also going to be with us this morning as one of our speakers. Additionally, I believe we have in the crowd Dave Hamill, who is our district grants chair. We have with us Paul Jersak, who is our White Hat Society chair. We thank him for being here. And I believe Arjun Ariel is also here. He's part of the Global Grants team as well. If I missed somebody, I apologize because you probably joined after they started the meeting itself. With that, I am going to begin sharing my screen. And welcome. So at this year's International Assembly, Rotary's first female president gave a very important speech. It was her theme address. And in her theme address, she said, imagine a world without polio. Imagine a world with clean water for everyone. Imagine a world free of disease, a world where every child learns to read. Imagine kindness and hope and love and peace. And that, my dear friends, is why our theme is Imagine Rotary. Jennifer Jones encourages us to imagine, to dream here at home and abroad. Today, we're here to discuss the Rotary Foundation, and it's through the foundation we can make some of those dreams a reality. The foundation is a nonprofit corporation that supports the efforts of Rotary International to achieve world understanding and peace through international humanitarian, educational, and cultural programs. This is our mission. The Rotary Foundation is supported solely by voluntary contributions and transforms those contributions into service projects that change lives, both close here at home in Hawaii and around the world. The foundation exists to enable Rotarians like you and me, to do good around the world. So let's take a quick step back in time to the very beginning. Rotary International was started in 1905 by Paul Harris, a Chicago attorney. But it wasn't until 1917 that the foundation became a reality. It was in 1917 when outgoing Rotary International President Arch Klump at the Rotary International Convention proposed setting up an endowment for the purpose of doing good in the world. This one idea and the initial contribution of $26.50 set in motion a powerful force that has transformed millions of lives around the world. The first contribution was from the Rotary Club of Kansas City, Missouri. A whopping $26.50, excuse me, which has since grown into $5.7 billion. Today, the foundation organizes a public charity operated exclusively for charitable purposes, governed by a board of trustees, and is headquartered in Evanston, Illinois. This is a summary statistic of the foundation. As you can see, the primary sources are the annual fund, the endowment fund, and the Polio Plus fund, all of which we will discuss further this morning. The other category includes things such as cash contributions to global grants, disaster response grants, and donor advised funds and directed funds. But today it's a fund of $5.7 billion. And what do we do with this? Well, last year we did 467 district grants to the tune of $31.1 million, 55 disaster response grants to the tune of $3.1 million, and 2,066 global grants to the tune of $130 million. We spend these monies in the 7 areas of focus: peace building and conflict resolution, disease prevention and treatment, water sanitation and hygiene, maternal and child health, basic education and literacy, community economic development, and the newest area of focus, the environment. This graphic is intended to show us where those monies are spent. This graphic was prepared last year before the newest area of focus was funded. And so when we see this updated graphic next, hopefully we'll see the 7th area of focus and where the monies are being spent in that particular area. But in this diagram, we can see that the bulk of the monies are spent fighting disease. The foundation is supported solely by voluntary contributions, and it has been a good steward of our money. The foundation consistently achieves a 4-star rating from Charity Navigator, the world's largest, most trusted nonprofit evaluator. If you were to go to the Charity Navigator website, this is what we would see. So how do we support the foundation? Again, the 3 primary funds are: 1, the annual fund, the polio fund, and the endowment fund. Here this morning to talk to us about the annual fund, we have our annual fund chair, Dick May from the Rotary Club of Kapolei. Dick?
Thanks very much, Dell, and good morning all. Well, if you look at all of the things that we have done through our grants, it's impressive. What we want to do in the coming year is even more impressive. We're part of the Rotary Ohana. We're the people who care and who want to do much to help the world around us internationally and in our own communities. The Rotary Foundation is, if you want to say, the engine that runs those programs. Yes, they take time and talent, but they take significant funds as well. The money we put into the annual fund, into polio eradication and into endowments, is the fuel that powers that engine that lets us do the things we do. So let's take a better look at how we give to the annual fund. Next slide, please. As members, we have the opportunity to participate in the funding of district grants for our local community and global grants that we also have a significant say in. Many of our clubs are involved in both. Most of our clubs are involved in both. Next slide, please. You'll hear us talk about share frequently. The share system is important because when you make a donation to the annual fund, if you designate share, that contribution goes into the share system. It's managed by the folks in Rotary for 3 years, and they're excellent managers. Many of our functions are volunteer functions, relatively few are paid positions, and they're careful stewards of the money. So the money comes back. Under the share system, those contributions that come back are divided between World Fund and our district designated funds with a mere 5% deducted for operating expenses. That's extraordinarily low. And so when you check share, whether it be on the forms that you use at My Rotary, or when you write a check and give it to your foundation chair in your club, and in that little for line down in the lower left-hand corner of the check, you mark annual fund share, then we get money back to the district in 3 years, and we get to be involved in how that money is spent. Next slide, please. So there are ways to give. A Rotary Direct recurring gift online at rotary.org, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. A check to the club foundation chair. You can mail a gift directly to the Rotary Foundation, or you can do a memorial or tribute. Many of us, some of us will give to our club foundation chair via check. Many will want to go online to make a donation, and they will do that through My Rotary. Next slide, please. MyRotary.org is open to all of you. You actually don't have to be signed in to make a donation, but I would suggest to you that you all should have access and be logged in so that you can view all the functions in there, including the wonderful training and foundation and elsewhere. But when you open the My Rotary page right at the top, you'll see that little bar donate. So you click on that bar, and that will open the next screen. I think we're ready for the next one. Okay, under this, it gives you an opportunity to select several things. If you want to make a designation for a specific area, focus area, you can do that. Most of us may not. We may simply give to the general fund, but it does allow you to set your amount and your frequency. So you can set it monthly, quarterly, annually. And in monthly, it's in increments of $25, $50, $100 on up. So you can select the amount. And then from there, you enroll by listing your information and then usually providing a credit card. Many of us do allotments from paychecks, and they're often small amounts. They may be for an insurance policy. They could be for long-term care or whatever the case might be. And after the first month or so, it's just there and you don't notice it until you notice how much you have donated. That is the case with this. So this is an excellent way to do it. And being involved in this program for recurring giving gives your club a shot at being an EREY, every Rotarian every year club. Next slide. You can give to the foundation through the annual fund through this form, which is available online, or through your club. And it's pretty much the same. You get a chance to check annual fund share or Polio Plus. And in a following presentation, you'll see this form again. That's on purpose so that you get familiar with this form and the things you do. You can use this form for your annual fund. You can use it for your Polio Plus giving. And this gives you the opportunity to input your information and either provide a check or a credit card. And again, do a recurring contribution as you wish. So exactly the same as My Rotary online. Next slide, please.
Hey, if I could jump in, and this is also a great way to promote becoming part of the Paul Harris Society or the Polio Pro Society. You know what your goal is, you set your goal and you budget that in. So that's a great way of doing that, and to increase participation in those donations.
Thank you for that. That's exactly right. And you'll hear more about recognition in a bit here, but at this point it's worth saying, because people have asked me this question. When you give this way, when you give to the annual fund, and when you give to polio eradication, those funds all count toward your recognition programs, toward Paul Harris, toward being a major donor. So it's all countable for you. So give to both and give generously. Mahalo. Next slide. Okay, that shows that you can check the frequency just as we would have done at My Rotary. So you opt to go monthly. And then from there, you get to go ahead and enter the information that allows you to make the payments. Next slide. We talked about Rotary Direct. Again, when you go into Rotary Direct, you select the annual fund. Next slide. Okay, before we get further on that, as I mentioned before, when you're still on that line, after annual fund, then you go in and you enter your monthly amount, and you can see those items below. So the process is the same either way. So that will conclude the annual fund presentation. I will tell you that I look forward to working with you. We've got a great team working to support us in various areas, Paul Harris, major donors, and White Hat Society. If you have any questions, please call me. I hope to visit all the clubs in person, and we look forward to doing whatever we can. Our district governor, Randy Hart, has asked us to do a little more each year, incrementally better, not necessarily huge dramatic leaps, but look at areas in your club, including annual giving, where maybe you can up the amount a little bit. Maybe it doesn't mean more money from your major donor in the club. Maybe it means getting those 2 club members who never have given much at all and who are keeping you from being an EREY club and a club of excellence. Maybe you need to chat with them and see if they can put in a few dollars so that everybody is in the team. And with that, we're going to go to endowments, and Rick Golba, our endowments chair, is on travel, not able to be here, but I'm delighted to introduce our guest presenter for the first of 2 segments, and that is our Rotary rock star, past district governor, Roz Cooper. Roz, take it away, please.
Thanks, Dick. And good morning, everyone. Nice to see everybody here. You know, more than 100 years ago, Rotarians took bold action to ensure success and the empowerment of generations to come. They established the Rotary Foundation to secure a better future, making an impact now and forever. Annual giving to the foundation help people around the globe live better lives today. Planned giving to the Rotary endowment support the same life-changing programs forever. Next slide, please. Contributions to Rotary's endowment are invested and professionally managed to provide each year a source of funding to support Rotary's local and global philanthropic work. The endowment makes an annual distribution for programs and operating expenses equal to the amount of spendable earnings approved by the trustees. For Rotary year 2018-2019, spendable earnings total $17.6 million, of which $15.9 million was used for programs, $1 million was used for fund development, and $0.7 million for general administration expenses. Spendable earnings are transferred to a spendable earning account. And if they are not used in the same year that they are made available, they remain in the account to be used in a subsequent year. This provides spendable earnings from market fluctuations before they are utilized for the intended program. Rotary thrives to increase the value of your giving by preserving and investing your initial contribution and spending only the portion of the earnings. Next slide, please. Rotarians are working toward the goal of reaching 1.0 billion in net assets and 1.025 billion in commitments for future gifts totaling 2.025 billion for the endowment by 2025. As of 30 June 2019, net assets came to 487.5 million and commitments total 828.9 million for a combined total of more than $1.3 billion. Net assets include life income agreements, which are irrevocable contributions that provide a beneficiary with payments for life or for a set number of years. The donor receives a U.S. charitable tax receipt for a portion of the face value of the gift. A commitment is typically a provision in a person's will or other estate plan that names the Rotary Foundation's endowment as a beneficiary. Commitments are not current assets of the foundation and are not included in audited financial statements. Next. Such contributions as charitable gift annuities and charitable remainder trusts are a great way for individuals and couples who are at least 50 years old to save money on unnecessary taxes and turn low yielding assets into a regular income stream. Next. If you are 70 and a half years old or older, you can make gifts to the Rotary directly from your individual retirement account to satisfy your requirement minimum distribution and qualify for a tax deduction. Next slide. Rotary's donor advised fund make it easy for your family to support your favorite charities through a single tax efficient account. You can set aside funds for later charitable use, maximize deductions in years that they are most valuable, and avoid unnecessary capital gain taxes on gifts of appreciable stock. Next slide. Through the share system, contributions to the Rotary Foundation are transformed into grants that fund local and international humanitarian projects, scholarships, and activities such as vocational training teams. At the end of every Rotary year, contributions directed to the annual fund from all Rotary clubs in the district are divided between the World Fund and district designated funds, DDF, after 5% is deducted for operating expenses. At the end of 3 years, your district can use the DDF to pay for foundation, club, and district projects that your club and others in the district choose. Districts may use up to half of the DDF to fund district grants. The remaining DDF may be used for global grants or donated to Polio Plus, the Rotary Peace Centers, or another district. Next slide. Give to the endowment fund today and watch as the value of your gift grows and investment earnings improve communities. Secure your vision for the future by including a commitment to the foundation in your will or estate plan. Your legacy is Rotary's promise. Thank you.
Now we're going to start the Polio Fund presentation, which will be led by past District Governor and also Polio Plus Chair for District 5000, Roz Cooper.
Thanks, Del. Rotary, that's a really neat video. I really love it. Rotary is an international community that brings together leaders who step up to take on the world's toughest challenges locally and globally. The eradication of polio is one of our longest standing and most significant efforts. In 1979, Rotary began a project to immunize 6 million children against polio in the Philippines. The effort's success led to Rotary making polio eradication its #1 top priority. Rotary launched Polio Plus in 1985. It was a founding member of the Polio Eradication Initiative in 1988. Through decades of commitment and work by Rotary and our partners, more than 2.5 billion children in 122 countries have received the oral polio vaccine. Next slide, please. Most people have heard of polio, but few know the disease still affects children around the world. The virus is spread person to person, typically through contaminated water. It can attack the nervous system and in instances lead to paralysis. Although there is no cure, there is a safe and effective vaccine, one which Rotary and our partners use to immunize over 2.5 billion children worldwide. Recent detections of the vaccine-derived polio in New York and London reminds us that polio is only a plane ride away. For every person paralyzed, hundreds or even thousands could be infected. This is indeed a setback from the long plan of ours to eradicate the virus from the world. You can help. You can help by spreading the word and understanding that unless polio transmission is interrupted, all countries remain at risk of importation of polio, especially vulnerable countries with weak public health and immunization services and travel or trade links to endemic countries. Next, please. Global polio eradication partners work all across the globe to ensure no child is paralyzed by polio ever again. A couple of months ago, we could say that we had two countries of focus, Afghanistan and Pakistan, as they have never stopped transmission of endemic wild polio. Today, we must refocus our endeavors. Outbreak countries are those that have stopped indigenous wild polio virus, but are experiencing reinfections either through the importation of wild viruses from another country or the polio-derived virus. To stop these outbreaks, it is necessary to fully implement international outbreak response guidelines. Endemic countries which have never stopped the transmission can also be affected by outbreaks of circulating vaccine-derived polios. All countries remain at risk until the disease has been completely eradicated from the world. Until then, the best way for countries to minimize the risk and consequences of polio infection is to maintain strong population immunity levels through high vaccination coverage and strong surveillance in order to rapidly detect and respond. Next slide. Your donations help Rotary and its partners reach every child with the polio vaccine. In 2005, we began a partnership with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation that injected much needed $200 million into the global campaign to eradicate polio. The foundation, Rotary Foundation, received a $100 million Gates Foundation grant, which Rotary was to raise funds to match. This was back then dollar for dollar for over 3 years. We did that. But that partnership with the Gates Foundation has continued and grown over the year. Rotary has and is committed to raising $50 million per year for polio eradication. The Gates Foundation has and continue to support the 2 for 1 campaign, a challenge that they have, making the total commitment $150 every year. Thanks to your contributions, we have over the years matched and made that contribution, that commitment. Next slide. This support for the Gates Foundation has allowed us to create innovative ways to reach that $50 million 2-to-1 match. Rotary launched Polio Plus in 1985. To contribute at least $100 or more each year to Polio Plus until the world has been declared polio free is our goal, our commitment. While this is not an official international program, we are ever confident that the wheels are in motion to make that happen, just as it did for for the Paul Harris Society. This is our, yours and mine, our pledge, and our, yours and mine, commitment to fill the promise made in 1985 for a polio-free world. And to make contributing easy, there's a Polio Plus Society form, which is outlined on the screen, that you can just go in and fill out. And of course, next slide, we have Rotary Direct. Rotary Direct is the easy way to enroll in Rotary Recurring Giving Program, making it easy for fast service. You can schedule a monthly, quarterly, or an annual contribution that empowers Rotarians to change lives in communities around the world. When you enroll in Rotary Direct, you'll receive a commitment confirmation email detailing the amount and the frequency of your contribution. Gifts made to the Rotary Foundation via Rotary Direct is receipted individually at the same time of your contribution. Each scheduled contribution will be credited to your individual account, Rotary Club, and district. Like all contributions, recurring gifts will be used wisely on worthy Rotary projects. Next slide. If this form looks familiar, it's the same form for contributions to the annual fund as mentioned earlier. Simple to fill out and simple to make your contribution. Next. In summary, Polio Plus funds one of Rotary's top organizational priorities of eradicating the world from polio. The annual fund through our share system creates funding for our district every year to pay for both district and global grants led by your clubs. Endowments create funding for projects in perpetuity. You receive investment earnings every year, no matter what. And finally, you can give cash gifts directly to approved global grants. However, these gifts do not receive any additional match in funding from our World Fund. Our World Fund is the source of Rotary funding for your global grants. Next slide. I am pleased to now introduce our district Rotary Foundation Recognition Chair, Dave Mostrin from the Rotary Club of Honolulu Sunrise, and AG for this Rotary area. Dave.
Thank you very much, Roz. Appreciate the introduction. Good morning, everybody. We're talking about recognition, and recognition is the one way for us to celebrate all of those people that have given to the Rotary Foundation. And we need to celebrate that. We need to celebrate that. We need to celebrate this because it allows us to recognize those people that know the importance of why we give to the Rotary Foundation. And we also find that it's contagious. So those people that give and we celebrate, we find that others will see that and also catch the fever and want to give to the foundation also. Because newer members are still learning all of this and they don't really understand everything that's going on with all of these flair or bling or tchotchkes or things that we give as far as awards for all the different recognitions that we have for the Rotary Foundation. Next slide, please. So there are a host of individual recognitions, and all of these usually come with a pin. The easiest one is what I call a sustaining member. And a sustaining member is simply somebody that says, I'm going to give a minimum of $100 a year to TRF, and that stands for the Rotary Foundation. So if you hear TRF, that's what it stands for, the Rotary Foundation. And that doesn't mean it's limited to any area of foundation within the group. And that sustaining member can be done as a Rotary Direct, or it can be done as a one-time payment. But that's something you want to encourage all your members to become, is a sustaining member. The Paul Harris Fellow is probably the oldest recognition award, and that's the one that comes with a year contribution of $1,000 or 1,000 recognition points. And for you, all of you new members, a recognition point is created with every dollar that you give. So if you give $1, you've created one recognition point. And that recognition point could be used to gift an award or a Paul Harris Fellow to somebody else within your club or in your community or a family member. And you can give it to anybody you'd like, but you can't use it for yourself. So figure out creative ways where you can use those points to incentivize those people that may give more if you're going to match their numbers. The Paul Harris Society is one where a person is actually pledging that they're going to give $1,000 a year. And that's a major commitment and is usually given by those people that have already been giving for a while. White Hat Society, as you will see, some of us will don that on. And the White Hat Society is given to those people that have given $5,000 or more in one given year. And we can talk about that more a little bit later, but there's other levels within the White Hat Society that gives you additional pins or conchos, and that allows you to know if the person has done this more than one time or is it just a single donation. The other accolade is a major donor, and a major donor is someone that has given a total of $10,000. And in this particular case, you don't use recognition points. This is totally cash. So you're going to find out that with Paul Harris Fellows, there are people that have multiple Paul Harris Fellows, and they can go up to 9. So it's what we call Paul Harris Fellow plus 9. And that means they've actually effectively reached 10 Paul Harris Fellows. But they may not have reached major donor status because some of those could be recognition points. So recognition points do not count towards what we call a major donor. That is a cash contribution. And for the most part, folks, that takes a while for you to acquire that. Most people aren't able to just write a check for $10,000. So you're going to see people that have said they've taken 10 years, they've taken 11 years, they've taken 20 years to do that. But they slowly give every single year. Eventually, you will reach that milestone. Polio Plus Society is one that was created recently, and that is also the incentive to give $100 minimum as a pledge to continue doing so for the life of the existence of polio. So as long as polio is still around, you're pledging that you're going to continue to give $100 minimum to the Polio Plus Society on an annual basis. A benefactor, bequest society, and arch clump societies are all what we call endowment grants or endowment donations or contributions. The benefactor is the easiest one, and that's simply to pledge that you're going to give $1,000 when you leave this planet. It's a real simple pledge. It doesn't require you to even give proof that you're doing it from your estate. You just sign a pledge card. And $1,000 from when you leave this earth is not going to be very much. The Bequest Society has got a little bit more of a heavy hit on that one, and that's a minimum of $10,000, and there's other stages above that. And that does require you to fill out some paperwork that says it's coming from your estate or your business plan. And then we've got the Arch Clump Society, and we'll talk more about that, but the Arch Clump Society requires a minimum contribution of $250,000. Next slide, please. So we talked about the Paul Harris Fellow, and that's one of the pins. And every single time you get another Paul Harris Fellow, you will get another pin with a different stone on it that will signify if it's the second, third, fourth, all the way up to your 9th Paul Harris Fellow. And again, that can be gifted as points or it can be cash to make your next Paul Harris Fellow. Next slide, please. There is an award that we call the Triple Crown within District 5000, and several of the districts throughout the United States and the country have gone ahead and adopted this award. It's not sanctioned by Rotary International, but it's achieved when somebody does 3 elements or 3 milestones. One is becoming a major donor, which is giving the $10,000 contribution in cash or more. The other is to become a Paul Harris Society, which means that you are contributing $1,000 a year and promising to do so every single year. And then becoming a Bequest Society member, which is a minimum of $10,000. When you reach that milestone, you've done all 3 of those in 1 year, then you have become a Triple Crown donor. Next slide, please. We also wanted to create something for those that may have not had that much giving or are new to giving, and something that's attainable by a lot more people than those that have given have to wait until they become a major donor. So our district came up with a TRF fund supporter, and that basically also has 3 criteria, but the 3 criteria are a lot simpler to achieve. One is to just become a sustaining member, and that's that promise that you're going to give $100 per year to the annual fund. The other is to say, hey, when I leave this planet, I'm going to give $1,000 as an endowment. And that's real simple. It's just a promise. And I'm sure that nobody's going to miss $1,000 once you leave. And the Polio Plus Society is also a commitment of just $100 per year. So if you can imagine, that could be a goal that you could set up for every member of your club. That could be a goal that you could even ask your Rotaractors or even your Interactors if they want to try to do that. And those awards can be given to those. So it'd be a great way for us to celebrate something that is attainable by everybody within our district. Next slide, please. We talked a little bit about the White Hat Society and the Arch Clump Society, but the White Hat Society is also one that is not sanctioned by Rotary International, but it is done by a bunch of districts throughout the West. And it is a requirement that somebody give $5,000 in cash or assets. You can do stock trade or things of that nature. So to any foundation, it doesn't matter if it's the annual fund, Polio Plus, or endowment. If you give $5,000 in 1 calendar year, you will be blessed with a hat that's measured to your head, given to you with a pin that has a white hat on it. There you go. Dell's showing us and modeling that with his coat and tie. You would fit in Texas with that, Dell. And then the Arch Clump Society is when you accumulate donations that reach 250,000. And we have a number of members within our district that are Arch Clump Society members. Now you think, hey, I'll never have that kind of money to give. But it doesn't have to be money. It can be real estate, it can be assets, it can be stocks. And there's ways you can even say, I'm going to live in my house, but I will donate my house. And so when I do leave, the sale of that house and the proceeds will go towards the Arch Clump Society in my name. And then you will still be named as the Arch Clump Society with just that promise. Next slide, please. You know, we talk about celebration, and that's what this is all about. Celebrating individuals that do things in the Rotary Foundation, but also celebrating our clubs. Because if we celebrate our clubs, that becomes the legacy of what continues for your club going on year after year after year. If you set a goal as a club, then that is a goal that is achieved by everybody in that club and continues to go. One of those is a TRF, 100% TRF club. And that's a simple thing of just giving $25, and everybody has to have a minimum per capita of $100. So that means if you've got 10 members in your club, you need to have a minimum of $1,000 of total giving. And everybody has to give a minimum of $25. And that's just to any area of the foundation. The one that I like is E-Ray, every Rotarian, every year. And why do I like that? Is because it's a village. we're a village that runs this thing. It's not an individual. It's not 5 people that are the whales in your club that give $10,000. It's everybody's job. And if you can go ahead and convince everybody in your club just to give $25, and you give it to the annual fund and you get 100% of your members, you get to hang this banner at your club meeting, and you can get this banner every single year. So it's a celebration that you can try to achieve every single year. It's not just once. There's also the Paul Harris Fellow Club, which is 100% Paul Harris Fellow. And that's a one-time award that you can hang for the rest of your, and there's where you can use points to help people to become a Paul Harris Fellow so that they don't have to give $1,000 up front. And the last one, which is the Paul Harris Society Club, that one, we've never seen a club in our district do that, but that's to get 100% of your members to say, I'm going to give $1,000 a year, and I'm pledging to do that every single year. So there's others that are on there. One of them is the Paul Harris 100% Sustaining Club, and that's a club that gives $100 per member for 100% of your members. And there have been clubs that have reached all 3 of those milestones. So feel free to set that as a goal. Next slide, please. One of the incentives that has been created recently, and this is also to help encourage those clubs that haven't been really stepping up to the plate and doing a lot in the foundation, and that's this annual giving contest criteria. And it's a way for us to measure people that have improved, or clubs that have improved year over year. So a total per capita giving, an increase in per capita giving, the Paul Harris, total Paul Harris membership, Polio Plus Society membership, and E-Ray membership percentage. When you look at those criteria, that's what's going to create an award for this incentive. And it's basically being given to 15 clubs every single year. Dick May from that you just heard speak, as well as
Doug Adams.
Thank you, Doug Adams. Doug Adams from the South Hilo Rotary Club is also a member of this, and they basically donate their own funds to create this. And what it does is it gives $100 per club as an incentive towards going to your foundation, so that it gives your annual fund, and that's $100 per club of those 15 clubs. So that's a major incentive, and it's a great thing. And it's great that this year was the first time we've done this. We've already seen one club step up and do a much better job in the foundation and becoming a E-Ray club for the first time because of this incentive. So thank you, Dick, for your generosity in that incentive award.
You bet. I'll just add as an update that Dave was our independent review of how the clubs did. So he crunched all the numbers. The top 15 clubs from the contest concluded in last Rotary year are known. We haven't announced them yet. We will shortly. We're preparing the certificates that Del Green will sign as foundation chair, and then we will announce those clubs. We will get the certificates and the $100 amounts out to each of those clubs. So mahalo, congratulations to those clubs and everybody. This is a kind of a very, if you will, open contest that any club can do well in, and just do what our district governors asked. Look at where you've done well, look at where you haven't done quite so well, and do a little more. Thank you.
Thank you, Dick. Appreciate that. And now I'll turn it over to PDG Del Green. Thank you, Del.
Thank you, Dave, for sharing with us the important topic of recognitions. The last topic we have to discuss today is peace. As we mentioned at the outset, the mission of the foundation is to enable Rotarians to advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace through the improvement of health, the support of education, and the alleviation of poverty. Peace is a cornerstone of our Rotary mission. And in support of that mission, Rotary International has developed the Rotary Peace Center program, which is our premier educational program and a top priority for achieving the foundation's mission of world understanding and peace. The Peace program provides opportunities for education in peace at a master's degree level or also a professional development certificate level. Rotary National has peace centers around the world. There are 7. We have a joint program at Duke University and the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill in the United States. There's one at the International Christian University in Japan, the University of Bradford, England, the University of Queensland in Australia, and also Uppsala University in Sweden. As for the professional development certificates, those are provided at Chulalongkorn University in Thailand, and also the Makerere University in Uganda. One of the side benefits of the Peace Program is that we have over 1,100 alumni in over 100 countries around the world, ambassadors of goodwill for Rotary here in Hawaii and throughout the world. The Peace alumni are members of the Alumni Association, but the alumni that are eligible also include interactors, Rotaractors, youth exchange members, and what have you. Anybody who's been through a Rotary International program. And so one of the things that we're doing here in District 5000 is we're also energizing our alumni and organizing them as an alumni association. So if you happen to be an alumnus or know somebody who's an alumnus, we would invite you to join us at the Pauhanas that are coming up on November 16 at a location near you. On Oahu, it's going to be at Aloha Beer. We have events that are in the process of being planned on the neighbor islands. With that, and I apologize for running through this a little quickly towards the end, but we did want to leave at least a moment for some questions and answers. So we want to imagine Rotary, because if you can dream it, we can make it happen, because together we can. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm not sure why it's like this, but perhaps we could see if there are any questions in the group.
Yeah, well, we see a question from Kara. Go ahead.
Hello. I am very interested in that Rotary piece. I went online when you were talking about it. I'm looking through the webpage. There is this ambassador program. Who can I speak to about getting involved specifically for the Rotary Peace movement? Because I'm trying to figure out my contact person, but it doesn't seem like it has it on the webpage.
Well, Kara, thank you for that question. I would encourage you to contact Alan Kusunoki, who is our Peace chairperson. So you can actually reach out to me. I'm not sure if Alan's here with us today. He'd be very excited to hear your interest. I certainly am. But if you reach out to me, I can put you in contact with Alan Kusunoki.
Can I have your contact, or can you put your contact in the chat box?
Certainly. Any other questions?
Well, I just want to make a statement that I'm part of Dick May's club, and Dick, you have really motivated me to give more to the foundation. After seeing everything that is being done, I'm a relatively new member, and I'm impressed, and I am surely more motivated now today than ever before to give. I think
Thanks,
everybody who's a Rotarian should be very proud, especially for those that's been in it for years and years and years. My hat goes off to you all. Thank you for all your work that you've done for the world in all these years. It's amazing.
Harry, you give very generously of your time, talent, and treasure. So you're a great Rotarian. Mahalo for the compliment.
Okay, I see we have another question. Go ahead.
Malin Whittle, Rotary Club of Kona. With the Rotary District Club of Excellence Foundation Award, you get some points for various reasons, and then you get an award from the district. My question is, it talks about money and donations and people, members donating. If I donate $100 and somebody gives me 100 points, does that count as $200 toward the recognition?
Do you want me to answer that, Del?
Yes, if you wouldn't mind, please. Thank you.
Yeah, it counts as 200 points. So it's going to look like $200, but it's really $100 plus 100 points. But it still registers as 200 points towards your giving.
Thank you. Thank you.
The other key point in that, Malin, is that those points then can be used for recognition at some future time, but not for your own recognition.
Right. So if someone gave you the 100 points, then that's fine. But if you had your own 100 points, you would have to give that to somebody else.
That's great. Understand. Thank you.
Very good questions. Other questions?
This is Virginia. I actually typed in the chat a question. If you're already a member of Paul Harris Society and as that you donated to Polio Plus, do you still just fill out a form? Do you only have to fill out a form for Polio Plus Society, or do you have to pledge another $100 a year?
Virginia,
Ross,
Virginia, if you're already a Paul Harris Society member, you have made that commitment to make the contribution. So if you want to become a member of the Polio Plus Society, you would join the society with your $100 contribution. However, if you want to not join and just make a contribution to Polio Plus, you can just do that. But to join the society is making the commitment of at least $100 a year.
Yeah,
So
Virginia.
that's a yes.
Yes,
Yes.
but Virginia, it's you can share it across. So if you made $100 contribution to the Polio Plus and then $900 for the year to the Paul Harris Society, that would complete you, and it'd be a total of $1,000, which is what your requirement is for the Paul Harris Society. But you gave 100 to the Polio Plus and then 900 to the foundation.
So if you've been doing that since before Polio Plus Society was created, I'm just trying to figure out the logistics of it. That's all.
Well, you've made the commitment for the Paul Harris Society. You've done that. You're part of the society. So now if you want to be part of the Polio Plus Society, you join the Polio Plus Society by completing the form. Other than that, you just make your contributions online to both or either.
Okay,
Okay,
Does that
hey,
help?
gang, so
a little
Thank-
bit.
yeah, thanks a lot, Virginia. So Bill Butler's got the final question for today, and then we're gonna wrap up this session, and we're gonna I'm gonna stop the recording and start it again, and we're gonna go into our next session, which is grant qualifications. So Bill, go ahead.
I'd just like to point out that New York is experiencing a polio tragedy right at the moment. And we talk an awful lot about how we have been a victor in polio. We have, and we've accomplished a lot, but we still have a lot more to do. Thank you.
Okay, Bill, appreciate that. So there's more questions. If you have more questions about Foundation 101, put them in the chat. And Del, Roz, and Dave, if you guys can address those questions in the chat. Cindy just posted a question. We'll stop right here. I'm going to stop the recording. And then I'm going to literally give you like a minute, and then I'm going to start it again. We're going to go into our next session, which is grant qualifications led by Mark Harbison. So hang on with me just a second here. Stop this.